Welcome to Spoonie Space, our weekly web-based show by Spoonies for Spoonies. You may be asking yourself, what is a spoonie? A spoonie is someone with chronic illness who faces daily pains, fatigue, and other conditions every day. Our show is made by people with those conditions for people with those conditions. My name's Mark, and what makes me a spoonie is I have fibromyalgia, which my most debilitating symptoms with that is pain and fatigue. A little bit of cognitive impairment, most commonly known as fibrofog, which kind of impairs you from thinking exactly what you already had in your brain, exactly like this introduction. So bear with me here a moment. I'd like to go ahead and let some of our other panelists introduce themselves. Go ahead and start with Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm 54 years old. I'm an empty nester with 2 grown boys. I'm a spoonie because I have fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, and an alphabet soup of other ailments that keep me a spoonie. My biggest challenge every day is taking care of my mother, who is a temporary spoonie. I enjoy Spoonie Space very much. It's a big part of my life, as is trying to be as involved with Spoonies for Life as possible. It gives my life purpose. So I'll pass this on to Kate.
Thank you, Kathy. Hi, everybody. My name is Kate. I've been a spoonie practically my whole life. I was born with hydrocephalus, which in my case is a lifelong chronic condition requiring numerous brain surgeries to have, well, first I had a shunt put in, surgeries to repair, replace, general maintenance of the shunt. I also have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and depression and anxiety, which makes life oh so fun. And that's what makes me a spoonie. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Kate. So today our show is about power of attorneys and advance directives. And we asked on the show what our fellow, or not our show, excuse me, on our page, what people thought about advance directives and powers of attorneys. So one person, Stephanie, said, not just spoonies, everyone needs these docs in place as well as a will. Think of it as your voice when you may not have one. It's your wish on care. A POA picks the person that you trust to make choices that you would make. And directive dictates how and what extended care will continue if you're unable to respond and make those decisions yourself. Very good points. I'd like to go ahead and pass over to Kate, who has a lot better information on advanced directives than I do.
Thank you, Mark. I graduated in 2015, May, with a Bachelor of Science in Hospice and Palliative Studies. Now, in the curriculum of Hospice and Palliative Studies, we learned a lot about advanced directives. I actually filled out my own living will 5 times. 5 times! And it was stressed on us the importance of revisiting these documents and how to go about talking about these documents and the difference between the documents. Now, 2 types of power of attorney. You have your medical power of attorney, and then you can have one for financial needs. It's best to have 2 different people handling these things. We're sticking more with the medical aspect of things. And then there are living wills and advanced directives. Now, the living will form I use, the 5 wishes, is a great form to use even if your state doesn't fully accept it, because it helps you think about all those things that could go wrong that you don't normally think about. Like, what if I was to end up in a coma or in a vegetative state? How do I want to be treated? Um, like it was Kathy or Marker, Stephanie's comment said, an advanced directives so is a living will. They are basically the same document, but there's a few little discrepancies that I won't get into right now. And the POA basically just lists, this is a person I want to make decisions, and most of them have a few questions for you to answer. They don't go real in depth. You want to use the 5 wishes, but your state doesn't accept it, and I'll show you a example of the 5 wishes. You can fill out the 5 wishes and attach it to your state's form, ensuring that your wishes will be followed. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Kate. Now, I'd like to go ahead and bring up one of our other comments that was on the page by Valerie. She states, my husband knows what I want, but I think it would be easier on him in the long run if I had it written down, because he will know without a doubt, and so will the rest of my family, mostly my mom. So it sounds like there might have been some family discrepancy here that, every family can probably relate to, as far as what someone may want versus someone else's wishes. And this is something that would allow you to make sure what you want is what happens versus select family that might want something different. Do one of our other 2 panelists have something to add to that? Kate?
Yes, working in hospice and with hospice patients and families, I've seen arguments between patients' family members. No, mom would have wanted this. No, mom would have wanted that. They can't agree. And yet the mother had stated before, my children know what I want. Well, apparently everyone's not on the same page. And sitting down and having a discussion about what you want done is the best way to make sure everyone's on the same page, having a plan in place. Especially if you're leaving decisions up to your husband or someone. For my advance directive, I actually chose not to make my dad power of attorney or my medical proxy, because I know he wouldn't be able to pull the plug on me if it came to that. So I had to name someone else. And I mean, that's one reason not to choose a family member all the time unless you know that family member is going to be able to follow through with your wishes. Kathy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, and I can speak from experience because I'm my mother's medical attorney, power of attorney. I had to go to the lawyer with her, sit down, go over the advance directive, what were her wishes. I had to state I would enforce those wishes. Sorry. It's tough for a family member to say that they'll do that, but if that's what she wants, she needs to know that the person's going to follow through with that. Now, I also have 2 brothers and a sister who I know in the past 9 months have given me some issues being her power of attorney, that medical power of attorney, that I've had to make decisions for my mom, and they weren't all that on board with some of the decisions that I made, but I know these were things that my mother needed, and I took the advice of the doctors. I took into consideration what my siblings wanted, but I went more on what the doctor said she needed as opposed to what my siblings wanted done. So it was hard to make that decision against my siblings, but my mom trusted me. So I'm sorry for getting emotional. It's an emotional thing when it's family. Back to you, Mark. Mark, your mic is on.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. I was just saying that, Catherine, I agree with what you said. It's a very difficult thing and very emotional, but you're doing the right thing by following what your mom wants versus maybe what the emotions are telling you otherwise. It's a very difficult thing to go through, I could imagine. Now, other people have said here on the comments that they also are medical power of attorneys. One here, Teresa, says that she's one because her friend can't trust her husband. Doesn't go into any more detail into that as far as maybe wouldn't be able to, follow through with something or just doesn't trust. That's a little bit ambiguous there. So, Kate, did you have anything else as far as the documents that you wanted to show or anything like that?
Yes, I do, Mark. Let's see if I can get this right this time. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so that you can see the medical power of attorney, or the 5 wishes, the form I prefer to use. And as you can see, this is a sample PDF from the website. And it contains, my wish for the person I want to make decisions for me when I can't, the kind of treatment I want or don't want, how comfortable I want to be, how I want people to treat me, and what I want my loved ones to know. And what I really like about the 5 wishes is, I'm going to scroll past all this. What I really like about the 5 wishes is the way it rolls through or goes through the wishes and explains. You go down to wish 2. My wish for medical treatment I want or don't want. And there's a little blurb up there. Keep in mind as my caregiver. And you have your choices. Anything you don't want, you can cross out. They have space at the bottom for you to add stuff. And, what kind of life-sustaining treatment do you want? Dig through that. Has in case of emergency, and it has some of the important things that you should know about do not resuscitate orders. When you're close to death, what do you want? Do you want to have life support treatment? You don't want it? Or only if the doctor thinks it's in your best interest? Same thing with brain damage. And it asks you any other condition under which you do not wish to be kept alive. What would keep you from wanting to live? And that's just a sample of what the My Wishes document is. It's a great to use as a sample to fill out and then to to fill out and an advance directive if you want to sit down and have the conversation with your family and maybe give them a copy of it. I know on the website you can actually order copies, and it's rather cheap to order the copies. So, yeah, that's the 5 wishes. Mark?
Thank you. Now, why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about, a little bit more about power of attorney. Catherine, I'd like to go ahead and have you elaborate a little bit more as far as what you've done, as far as, how it affects her and how that affects you a little bit as well.
Okay, Mark, thanks. Basically, it has really been a challenge because certain doctors won't talk to you unless you have a copy of it with you. So now I try to keep a copy of it on me at all times. Trying to talk to doctors over the phone. There's not a copy in the file. They want you to make an appointment. It's just a whole mess. So I'm trying to make sure that every doctor has a copy of it in her file. So if there's ever any question or doubt, they know that they can talk to me directly. At one point, my mom was so sick, she had a really bad bladder infection, and it started affecting her brain, which gave her almost symptoms of dementia, signs of dementia, even though she didn't have it. So she couldn't really think straight or remember things, and so I kind of had to advocate for her and speak for her, and I got a lot of looks, dirty looks, especially from caregivers and rehab facilities, and I'm like, I'm her medical power of attorney. If she doesn't have a voice, I'm her voice. And you just need to just make sure you stand up and do what's right by whoever you're taking care of. And that's just one incident. And again, it's just a responsibility that you need to be ready to take on. Being that I'm a Spoonie, I understand everything. And I've had to advocate for myself. So when my dad passed, I lived the closest to my mom. So it was only natural for it to fall on me. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you. I'm actually going to go ahead and let Dina introduce herself and let her speak a little bit about this topic.
Hi, everybody. Sorry for being late. I had my own emergency. My roommate had to go off to the ER for allergic reaction. Thankfully, she has her own advance directive because of her autoimmune issues, and at one point in time they were talking about putting a trach in because of how much her throat swelled. So we've all had many of these things come up. My personal experience knowing about advance directives, medical power of attorney, mental health medical power of attorney, which is a separate thing that many people are not aware of, is severalfold. Professionally, I was required by the state of Arizona to make sure that my older adult clients were aware of their rights. When I was a therapist in Arizona, it was actually required of my job. And because I was in a same-sex relationship in the state of Arizona, if I wanted to make sure that my partner could get into the hospital with me, I made sure that I had an advance directive because a lot of hospitals don't necessarily respect that. So I had an advance directive up front to make sure that my partner could get in, as well as the fact that I'm a spoonie with a lot of weird stuff, and because of my medical degrees, I've seen what long-term brain injury can do, and I'm like, no, nobody's ever going to put me on life support. I knew what my choices were, and so I learned quickly how to fill the paperwork out and how to help people advocate for themselves to fill it out. And I think it's a very powerful thing to be able to help people learn and to reduce the strain on families, because when you've got a loved one at that point in life, it's just not something you want family to have to stress over. It's just have it in black and white written down. This is what they wanted. It's here. It's a legal document. It's already done. It can still stress you out because you don't agree with it, but it's already there. It's a legal document, and it's done. So that's my background, both professionally and personally. Mark?
Thank you, Dina. Kate, did you have more to add on to that?
Not really, Mark. I mean, we talked about the advance directive. We talked about how important they are. And as I said before, I'm a hospice professional. And, you really want to have this stuff decided before something happens, because I've seen 18-year-olds in hospice, with brain injuries that they're not coming back from. They've come to hospice to die. And it's just sad to see the family bickering over what this kid would have wanted. It's just really sad. It's really hard to deal with on a personal level. That's why I sent Mark the link to the Five Wishes website, Aging with Dignity, that you can look at the document, print it out, order a copy, use it in discussion with your family members to go over, okay, if I'm in a coma, this is what I want. I want to be rubbed with hot oil, or I don't want to be rubbed with hot oil, stuff like that. Those are serious options, Mark, serious options. And, just stuff like that. It's important to have these discussions. I can't stress enough how important it is to have these discussions before something happens. I mean, something might never happen, but there's always that chance that something's going to happen. It's really good to revisit your document every couple of years. Maybe you named your boyfriend your medical power of attorney or your medical proxy, and you and your boyfriend are no longer together. Do you really want him still making decisions for you? I think so. So you might want to update that stuff every once in a while. All right, back to you, Mark.
Thank you. I actually personally have not filled out my advance directive. I did a living will when I was in the Navy. That was required, because at any time you can, get into trouble while you're in the military. But since then, I haven't. And so, I do know I need to. And I'm obviously now going to be more motivated to get that done, since, we're doing this show about how important it is. You know? And so I have the difficulty of hosting while still not being fully versed on the topic. Yay. So, I'd like to go ahead and ask the rest of our panelists, Dina or anyone else, if they had anything else to add into this topic about advanced directives and medical power of attorneys. Go ahead, Dina.
Some of the things that it's really important. Let me get some more light on. The window was glaring a lot, so hopefully you can still see me, y'all. Most advanced directives, the 5 wishes is really easy to do. I was able to do that with an older gentleman who was struggling with serious mental illness and end-stage cancer. I, as a clinician, walked him through each question so that he could make his decisions before he had to go through a procedure he was not expected to survive. He did, amazingly enough, but it was a great thing because he was able to figure out his choices and set them forward so his family knew, which was very, very necessary because of everything that happened. So I'd just like to reassure anybody listening, wishes, super easy. Different states' advanced directives, the formal things that you can often find at the Attorney General's websites. I know Arizona's is on the Attorney General's website, for instance. They're still very short sentences, very direct, very discreet. Yes, no, what would you like? And I found it reassuring because you can say things like, I don't want to be buried. I have never wanted my body interned. Ever. I now have a legal document that says you're not allowed to put my body in the ground. Cremate me. That matters to me. And will matter to somebody else, and that could be a little peace of mind that can help somebody feel a little less stress as they're going through the pain of what they're going through. And there are, for those that are scared of advanced directives, they're scared of, well, what does it mean to answer questions about medication that's hospice level meds, that's to alleviate pain, but might, you know, precipitate death or whatever. Those are always questions to talk to your doctor about, but they are explained very thoroughly. You don't get those meds until there is no other option, first of all. And I've seen people answer these questions of, well, wait a minute. If I have these options, then my family doesn't have to see me struggle. They don't have to see me in that terrible pain. And they fill the paperwork out, and it gives them relief. If they don't have it done in advance, family doesn't know what they want, and it's a bigger struggle. Mental health, durable power of attorney is about. I am a mental health provider, and I did not know about it before I had to start telling people about it. I did a great big, oof, crap, okay. It is a separate thing, and it's an important thing. Who do you want to be able to talk for you if you become mentally unable to speak for yourself? That is a separate thing from others. It could be dementia. It could be psychosis, depression, whatever. But that is separate from physical. And that's a big ball of wax. You don't have to fill it out, but it's a big ball of wax. And if you are somebody who has mental health history, it could be a very important thing for you to do, because that's self-control for you. That's who do you want to advocate for you if you need to go into a locked hospital. Who do you want to say, yes, they can speak for me? And they're of, no, I don't want these meds. These meds do not work for me. This is why. And you can only fill this paperwork out when you're in a solid mindset. So they have to read it. It's a brilliant form. It's an absolutely brilliant form. I love it. I think it's wonderful as a provider myself, because it gives people strength. It gives people a foundation to stand on for when later they don't have that ground. They can have the document. Their mental health power of attorney will have the document, obviously, and go, here. This is their needs. They've said, look, these meds do not work for them. These meds make them worse. Here's a legal document saying so. Here's where they need to be. Please do your job. And it's amazing. And very few people know it exists. And it's another aspect for some of being a Spoonie. And so I think it's important to get that out there.
Thank you, Dina. I didn't hear you pass it to me. My dog was barking. School bus came and he likes to bark, so let him go bark. And anyway, so I didn't know about that either. That is actually a very good aspect to learn about and to definitely fill out, because you always want to make sure your choices are made the way you want them versus drama of what could happen afterwards. Now, I think we've covered pretty much everything, unless Kate or Dina, you have anything else you'd like to add? All right, doesn't appear to be. So I'd like to go ahead and thank all of our viewers for watching us today. And this has been Spoonie Space. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our Facebook page and our closed support group. Thank you and have a wonderful day.